Hello and welcome to Stand Up. I've got yet another amazing, thoughtful, brilliant comedian. I had Ophira, then I had Jason Solomon, and today the legend Michael Ian Black joins me. You are going to love our conversation. If you want to jump to it, it starts at 29 minutes in. But I've got your headlines and your clip show. Going to get right to it. Just want to mention I do a David Rothkopf scheduled today for 4 p.m. live. If you are listening on Wednesday, I'm very happy to have you here, and I am writing in the Patreon email every day, so check that out. Patreon.com/Pete Dominic. If you're not a paid subscriber, go subscribe right now. And it's time to get to the news and clips, which I do every weekday. Let's start with the fact that last night there were primaries in Texas, and guess what? The runoff had John Cornyn, the, quote, establishment MAGA Trump supporting senator who's extreme on the right and has been his entire career, against one of the worst people ever, Ken Paxton. And just guess who won? That's right. Ken Paxton ran away with that runoff election in Texas, and that will put him up against one of the most popular people to run for Senate in a long time, definitely in Texas. It's James Tallarico. Tallarico versus Paxton in November. I mean, that should be good. The commander-in-chief's endorsement still matters in Republican primary elections. I think that's also interesting. But does it matter in an election against a Democrat? Well, not as much. All right, let's jump to some international headlines, and then we'll come back home. But start with crisis conditions in Lebanon. The Israeli military deepening its operation in Lebanon. Prime Minister and crazy person Benjamin Netanyahu continuing the onslaught. Large forces have been deployed there, he said in a statement, to capture additional territory. Early on Tuesday, an Israeli military official confirmed that Israeli troops had operated beyond the so-called Yellow Line, which demarcated the area in which southern Lebanon, that Israel kept under its control during the ceasefire that went into effect in mid-April. So that war continues to grow. In Russia, Russian pounded Kiev and surrounding areas with hundreds of drones and missiles on Sunday, and one of the heaviest bombardments of the city since the start of the 4-year war, firing a hypersonic missile near the capital. Russia's hours-long overnight barrage killed 2 people in Kiev and 2 more in the surrounding area, and it wounded nearly 100, according to Ukrainian officials. Authorities said dozens of residential buildings and several schools had been damaged. In Turkey, they're taking fresh steps away from democracy. Turkish riot police forced their way into headquarters of the country's main opposition party on Sunday, days after a court dismissed its leadership. Yikes. And at the Vatican, Pope Leo made a historic apology on Monday for the role of the Holy See played in legitimizing slavery and for having failed to condemn it for centuries, calling the Vatican's record a wound in Christian memory. All right, good job, Pope. All right, let's come back home, where federal judges in Wisconsin and Maine dismissed lawsuits from the Department of Justice that were seeking the unredacted private voter files. The decisions were the latest setbacks in a sprawling effort by the Justice Department to obtain the private voter rolls, including identifying information such as partial social security numbers from all 50 states. The Department of Justice is suing at least 30 states and territories to force officials to turn over data, but they've yet to win a single suit. That's right. The current tally is 8-0. They cannot win this information, and that is good news. Bad news. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services announced Friday that it will sharply limit when immigrants already inside the United States can apply for permanent residency. In a new policy memo, the agency said most non-citizens seeking a green card must instead leave the U.S. and complete the process through their consular offices overseen by the U.S. Department of State in their home countries. That is going to be an absolute nightmare. I can't even imagine what that portends, and we'll dig into it more. But how about this one? While they're trying to make it harder for non-white people to come here or stay here, they certainly are inviting the most racist white people they can. Since October, according to the Washington Post, the United States has admitted 6,069 refugees. According to the State Department, though, 6,066 of them were from South Africa. Wait, what? Only 3 refugees were not from South Africa. I bet they're white too. Much less the most racist white people is who we are importing. Talk about importing people for their votes. And that fat shit of a president of ours had another medical exam Tuesday, and I guess everything went perfectly, he said. Everything doesn't look perfect, and he had all kinds of medical experts on cable news, especially speculating, which I hate because they sometimes get your hopes up, but doctors should not be necessarily speculating and examining patients that are not theirs on public television or airwaves, in my opinion. Maybe I'm old school. Well, the good news is evacuation orders have been lifted as Southern California chemical tank cools. The bad news is a different chemical tank blew up, killed 1, and injured 9 in Southwest Washington, the state of Washington, at the Nippon facility. 9 employees are still missing, I should say. An absolute nightmare in the state of Washington there. Well, here's some good news. Drivers for Uber and Lyft united to form the first state-recognized union for rideshare workers in the country last week, marking a historic moment for unionization efforts within the gig economy. Massachusetts officially certified the organization representing the drivers on Friday in a move that the governor, Maura Healey, called a historic moment. The organization, the App Drivers Union, will represent nearly 70,000 workers in Massachusetts, giving them the ability to collectively bargain in contract negotiations. Big news for Massachusetts Uber and Lyft drivers. Love to see it. All right. A federal court rejected Alabama's new voting map for the midterm election, saying it discriminated against black people. Alabama likely to appeal the ruling. And let's go to South Carolina. State Senate refused to approve a new Trump-backed voting map that aimed to eliminate the state's only majority black district. And in Florida, a judge temporarily let stand an aggressive new Florida voting map as a lawsuit against it moves forward. The map could give Republicans 4 additional seats. We'll get caught up with David Daley, Eric Siegel on that very soon. They're breaking heat wave records in Europe already, Western Europe in particular. And good news, a dissident from China has escaped on his 4th attempt and made it to South Korea by a rubber boat. I love it. I love the spirit. Dong Guangping. He's 68 years old. He's been trying to get out of China forever, and he finally did it. Way to go, Dong. Those are your headlines. Let's get to the clips that I've got for you. Let's start with James Tallarico last night. He reacted late last night on MS Now. He was on Lawrence O'Donnell's show. He reacted to Ken Paxton winning in Texas.
First time you've joined us where you know who you'll be running against in November. Is this the campaign you wanted? Tallarico versus Paxton. Is this the opponent you wanted out of this Republican primary?
Well, Ken Paxton embodies the broken political system that we're running against. He is the most corrupt politician in America. 3 years ago tomorrow, he was impeached by his own party for using his public office, his position of public trust, to enrich himself and his donors at our expense. And that is exactly the problem in our politics. It's puppet politicians who serve themselves and their billionaire mega donors instead of serving us. It's why we can't afford anything. It's why we can't get ahead no matter how hard we work. The system is rigged by corrupt politicians like Ken Paxton. And so it's going to be all of us. It's going to be Democrats, independents, and Republicans. It's going to be urban Texans, rural Texans, suburban Texans. It's going to be all of us coming together, the people versus Ken Paxton.
There you go, James Tallarico last night. He didn't say whether he was happier to go up against Paxton than Cornyn, but he is. Crazy, wild, and great news. We were Democrats rooting for Ken Paxton because he's absolutely nuts, and I'm sure you've learned a good bit about him, but even his ex-wife did not endorse him because she cheated on him. He cheated on her. So there you go. That's the best thing Ken Paxton ever did. All right, how about this? Here is a comedian, conspiracy theorist, and very influential podcaster, YouTuber Tim Dillon, who helped Trump get elected, supported Donald Trump. He's a real piece of shit in my mind. I know a lot of people know him and like him or are friends with him, but I can't get past, obviously, his help and support of Donald Trump and all the conspiracy theories that he's bought. He's also openly gay, so it's just ridiculous. But here he is now telling his audience that Trump is the greatest con artist ever, and not in a good way, but it doesn't sound like he's too upset.
Greatest con in history. By the way, it's the greatest con in history. I mean, truly. It's the greatest. And I don't say great in like a good way. It is truly the most successful con in history. It makes Enron look like a guy doing 3-card Monte on the street. Anything that you can remember and identify as a complete and utter scam, this is the greatest con in history. To run as an America first, and you're going to take care of America, and then turn around and go, all of these things, daycare, Medicare, Medicaid, we have nothing to do with that. We're fighting wars. That's what we're here to do. We're here to have a defense budget of $1.5 trillion, and we're here to fight wars. It is the greatest scam in history. You got to hand it to him. And I mean, truly, and not in, again, not in a moral way, but like you got to hand it to him. This is the greatest about face in political history that I have really ever seen.
How is it an about face? That's what I don't understand. What am I missing? I hate that guy, but I thought I'd play it for you. I love this guy, Keith Boykin. He's great. His videos on Instagram are so good. He's always informing me and teaching me, and I had no idea this is what was happening in Washington, D.C., that it was this obvious and on the nose, but they are getting rid of anything that commemorates and celebrates Black history, achievements, Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, D.C. It's one thing to get rid of it. It's terrible and awful and dumb and bad. But it's another thing to replace it with Confederate statues. And that's exactly what they're doing. Let Keith Boykin explain.
This is Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, D.C., or it used to be. In March of 2025, workers with jackhammers came here and destroyed it under threat from Donald Trump, 1 block away at the White House. This is Judiciary Square, home to Confederate General Albert Pike, the only Confederate general with a statue in Washington, D.C. Protesters brought him down in 2020. Trump brought him back in October 2025. And this is Freedom Plaza, named to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Yet Trump just put up a new statue behind me to honor a white enslaver named Caesar Rodney, removed from Delaware during the racial justice uprising brought here last week, right across the street from D.C. City Hall. All of this is happening in 2026, and it's not the first time. It happened after Reconstruction when Confederate monuments went up all across the South. Then it happened again during the Civil Rights era in the 1960s. Every time Black people start making progress, white people come along to send a message. We won, you lost, know your place. These reinstallations are sending the same racist message, along with the racist gerrymandering to remove Black congressional districts, erasing who belongs in public space before they erase who belongs in public life. The statues are not the point. The statues are the preview.
Indeed. Well done, Keith Boykin. Very good stuff. How about this? This is a Christian pastor. His name is Laron Livingston. He's the senior pastor of the Central Church of God in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he publicly rebuked televangelist and faith advisor Paula White Cain, who advises Donald Trump. He strongly criticizes her teachings, her association with Trump, and her promotion of the prosperity gospel, stating she does not represent biblical Christianity. He addressed it during a sermon, referring to her as a word of faith fanatic and warning against her methods. And you like to see it. Take it away, Pastor.
Paula White, a heretic, blaspheming Jezebel. She cannot tell the truth. She's a word of faith fanatic. I heard her say, the Spirit of the Lord just spoke to me right now and told me that 10 people were going to give $100,000. I heard her say, there is not a bit of difference between me and Jesus Christ. I heard her say, I'm going to pray for people tonight, but I'm not going to pray for you till you lay an offering down here on the altar. She's a blasphemer, a heretic, a deceiver, an apostate. And that's who he chose to help him do his conferences. By the way, that's who your president chose to be his faith advisor. Some of you won't look at me now. That's who the president chose to give him advice on faith. She does not represent me. She can't tell the truth. Those big shot guys cannot tell the truth. If they're trying to raise money constantly, they can't tell the truth. I want to tell you something. Our president needs some help. He needs some guidance. He needs help. But he's not going to get it from that. The only help he can get is when he falls on his knees and calls on the name of the Lord. And I know the man. I talked to the man. The man is a friend of mine who sat in front of him as close as I am to my own hand and said, Mr. President, you must be born again. You've got to ask God for forgiveness for your sins. You cannot live in this kind of pride. You cannot be this arrogant. God won't let this last very long. I know the man that told him that. But he's not going to get any direction from somebody who doesn't even know what sound doctrine is.
Yes, indeed. I like it. More of that. Real, authentic, solid Christianity. I don't know what I'm talking about. But here is Stuart Stevens. He was on MS Now, and I thought this was a good clip. He's a former Republican author, political consultant, worked on Romney's campaign, and has admitted he helped build where we're at right now, so I appreciate it. And he's talking about terrorists, referring to the J6ers and more.
And, you know, what is most notable to me and sad to me and painful is none of these guys are saying anything about the principle. I mean, it used to be that our party said you don't negotiate with terrorists. Now we're the party that pays terrorists to terrorize us. I mean, it's the nuttiest thing in the world. I expect soon that Trump is going to come up with a fund to compensate those men named in the Epstein files for the embarrassment that they had to go through. It just really, again, shows why the Republicans are going to get killed in this midterm, and why they should be, and just how little substance and any sort of basics of theories of government or morality that the Republican Party is operating on now.
All right. There you go. Stuart Stevens thought that was good. And I think this is great as well. Yesterday, Mayor Mamdani, Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City, came out with more criticisms and policies on bad landlords, targeted housing holdouts, waded into the housing debate with a plan that could define his time in office, NBC News. Mamdani turns to the private sector to help with public housing, another headline. And, of course, came out in support of the New York Knicks, who are in the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. Why? Well, because Mayor Mamdani is running New York. That's why. No, it's because they're pretty good. Here he is yesterday.
Through our new citywide campaign, Fix the City, we will focus on the worst landlords in New York City. When necessary, we will take aggressive legal action to remove negligent owners and property managers. And for buildings that have suffered chronic neglect, we will work to transfer ownership to responsible stewards. Stewards that include community land trusts, nonprofits, or even the tenants themselves.
There you go, Mayor Mamdani yesterday, and shortly after that speech, he joined the guys over at the Midas Touch YouTube channel.
You know, I see how excited people are in New York City about this today and how they've been excited about it leading up to it. But you know what they're going to say on what I call state regime media, which is Fox and Daily Wire. They're already out with their talking points. Mamdani wants to decide who deserves to keep their property. Now it begins. Mayor Mamdani unveils shift property ownership from landlords to, quote, the community, end quote. And so this is what they're rolling. You know, they're going to clip you tonight. So what do you say when you have Jesse Waters out there, you know, doing his deranged shtick that he does and Hannity, and they say this? What's your message to that audience there?
You know, my message to that audience is the same as I would say to anyone. I want them to be able to afford to live in the city as well. And yes, if there is a bad landlord that is violating housing codes, the city will hold them accountable. We have held bad landlords accountable to the tune of $65 million in these past 6 months. And that's not something we're embarrassed of, because we're proud to actually stand up for our laws that ensure that New Yorkers don't just have a place they call their home, but one that's also habitable enough to be considered a home. And when it comes to this program, we're talking about actually delivering block by block a kind of housing vision that ensures the long-term stewardship of homes across the city. And if there is a bad landlord whose entire business model is harassment, violation, and displacement, then yes, we will take every single course of action we can. And that includes at times to ensure that we're changing the ownership of that home to a nonprofit, to a community land trust, sometimes even, yes, to tenants themselves.
All right, Mom Donnie, getting it done in New York City. What do you think? Let's get now to Jimmy Kimmel. That's what I've got for you. Final clip. It's funny. It's Jimmy Kimmel back on ABC, Jimmy Kimmel Live last night after Memorial Day weekend, after Colbert's ending. Here he is.
We are on week 13 now of Trump's little excursion in the Middle East. Trump has been all over the map on this. On Saturday, he said a deal with the Iranians had been largely negotiated and was nearly finalized. On Sunday, then, he said we weren't going to rush into anything. Yesterday, he said it'll only be a great deal for all or no deal at all, which incidentally is a new game show coming to NBC, hosted by Howie Mandela-Tola. And then, hours after saying we're close to an agreement, he started bombing Iran again. It's as if that FIFA Peace Prize means nothing to this man. And, of course, this is all happening on Memorial Day, the day on which we honor the women and men who gave their lives to protect our country, our freedoms, our ideals, everything we used to stand for. The president posted a message to social media. He wrote, "Happy Memorial Day to all, including the Democrats who disrespect our military and all of the tremendous success that it has had over the last year. God bless those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. I love you all." No one puts the me in Memorial Day like Donald J. Trump. And I'll tell you something. I noticed that.
All right, there you go. That is Jimmy Kimmel. And now it's time to get to my guest. It's Michael Ian Black. You know him. You love him. You've seen him on all kinds of TV shows, sketch comedy, on tour, The State, of course. You should subscribe to his Substack. It is so, so good. I never miss one. I read everything he writes and love his writing and his mind, the way that he thinks and works. You can also watch him on CNN. They're back in September. Amber Ruff and Roy Wood. It's Have I Got News for You? And he's on the podcast Have I Got News for Your Ears, which he invited me to be a guest on not too long ago, and had a great time with him then, and I had a great time with him now. Let's do it right now with the always amazing Michael Ian Black. Welcome back.
Hey. Great to be here.
So excited to see you. And I just want to say right off the top, I appreciate you doing my podcast. You're very busy. You do a lot of work with cameras and camera angles, I know.
I sure do. But you know what, Pete? You're important to me. And I feel like you should be important to more people.
I think that's right. And I think you're the voice. I was saying this as I was reading your Substack. It's one of my favorite Substacks and regular things to read. Whatever you write, I read it. And I was walking today and walking and read it. I don't know if you ever do that. And I said,
walk and read?
Walk and read.
That's not smart.
Yeah, I was on a trail and I wanted to prepare to talk to you and I hadn't read the latest. And here's what I came to the conclusion. I feel like you're a voice of our generation.
Absolutely.
Do you agree? Yeah.
Here, not only am I not the voice of a generation, I don't know that I've ever had an original thought in my life.
Oh, you just say that because
Other than this, grocery store blueberry pie, pretty much as good as homemade blueberry pie.
No, that is an insane thing to say, and you've really touched a nerve. I'm the pie man. And I love blueberry pie, but the idea that you would say a grocery store blueberry pie can hold any comparison.
I'm not. Please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying a factory-made grocery store pie. I'm saying a pie that was made in the grocery store itself by trained pie makers.
Oh, well, that's something different, and I am still not that impressed. Either way, I still feel that way. You can be modest and say that you don't have original thoughts. I mean, your latest over at Substack, the things you've been writing, not only about life, but also about current events, I feel like capture certainly the angst of so many of us. Particularly, you wrote a piece called Overwhelmed at the beginning of May. And I suggest everybody go read that because I felt naked and alone until I read it. That's what I mean.
Kind of you. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, that's what I mean, because I think that somebody in the chat says that you deserve a Nobel pie immediately. Rachel, who's a big fan of yours, because a Nobel pie is it's a real pie maker. Nobel pies. All right. So I've got to ask you about your views on everything now. Here we go.
Okay.
All right.
I'm either in favor or against it.
Well, you've been paying close attention, as everybody has, to the war in Iran that we started.
I'm against it.
You're against the war, but you, like others, are finding yourself very uncomfortable not knowing who to believe on what is happening and saying, I feel like the Iranians might be a little bit more trustworthy, which was never the case.
No, I'm very comfortable with the Iranians being more trustworthy. Incredibly comfortable with that. I don't like it, but I'm comfortable with it. I'm used to it at this point. I've had 2 terms of an American president and all of his minions lying to me every time they open their mouths. So if I feel like I'm getting the straight poop from the Iranians, that's where I'm going to go. Now, and when I say one, I mean one, generally speaking, I wouldn't only rely on the Iranian. You get BBC, you get foreign outlets reporting, I think, less in a stenographic way what the American administration is saying. And so you get a better perspective, I think. Also, I feel like you get a lot of good analysis, geopolitical analysis on YouTube of all places.
Oh, really? You got the channels or people that you like there particularly?
Yeah.
Really? Some of those people are pseudo-intellectuals, and they sound like they know what they're talking.
Oh, absolutely. But the beautiful thing is, because I can't even claim pseudo-intellectual status, the fact that they're saying things to me, I'll just believe them.
Well, how about this? When it comes to Iran and America and negotiating, when it comes to Trump and negotiating anything, have you ever negotiated anything like a purchase of a car or a home or even any of your many contracts that you've had throughout your career? I'm betting that if you kept lying to the people, you would get a bad reputation. No one would trust you. But don't you think that's a pretty normal way to react for negotiations, which is why when we've always known this about this guy and his administration, they keep lying to everybody, including to themselves. And so nobody can make it.
Especially to themselves. Cause I think most of them, I think, believe their own bullshit. I think. Am I crazy?
I think they are trying to get as much of the pie that you're eating as they can. I think they don't care about winning or America. I think they're just trying to get.
I think they've confused their personal finances for what is good for America.
You do?
I know. I don't know that, like, Kevin Hassett, for example, who is such a little chipmunk.
Yeah.
Every time, he comes on the news and his little paws are in the air and he's saying gas prices are about to be 69 cents a gallon, I have to believe that he is not malevolent enough to go on air and just lie. I have to believe that in his chipmunk brain, he's telling the truth, or at least shading the truth in such a way that it puts the best face on it. But I don't I think certain people are malevolent, but yeah, I think some of them just believe their own bullshit. They're smelling their own farts, and they smell delicious to them.
I think that might be you trying to explain the only way possible to understand it, as opposed to, and we see things as we are, not as they are, as opposed to some kind of naked power or money grab. That
I 100% agree that is a possibility. But if that is the case, my opinion about humanity becomes so bleak, even bleaker than it already is, that I don't know that I can stomach it. If the administration and everybody in it is literally and only focused on enriching themselves and raping and pillaging as much as they possibly can, then, and by the way, I think a lot of them, they're doing it, but I think they've justified it. I think they believe they're doing something right, and not just for themselves, for the country. Otherwise, like I said, my view of humanity just takes such a dark turn that I don't know that I can handle it.
Why are you allowing so few humans to represent your view of humanity? Like these guys.
Wait, why am I letting so few humans do what?
Represent your view of humanity as opposed to all of the people, all the other beautiful people in your life in the world.
Because there's 60 or 70 million, whatever it was, Americans who elected this.
Right.
So not only are the people at the top in this scenario utterly malevolent, but the people who voted for them are even stupider than I thought they were.
Where are you, Michael Ian Black, on voting rights? For them?
Against.
That's where I thought you would land. Another controversial take. Do you want to explain?
It just seems like, do we really want to give people the right to select their own representatives? Look what they've done to this point.
You got out of that one.
Yeah, when I started speaking, I didn't know.
I know.
How I was going to end speaking.
It's my favorite.
Sometimes it works out.
It's one of my favorite things to do, talking to you. To me, that was the hardest thing that we've seen from this administration, the worst blow. The wars, horrible. The invasions into communities, forced deportation, family separation, all that's bad. But some of that is like more temporary and somehow replaced. You can't replace lives, obviously. But this voting right thing seems to be like spiritually and like the worst because it was fought for by our parents' generation, civil rights leaders.
We could go back a little further.
If you want
to Antietam and say, they were fighting for this. And Americans were giving up their lives for this. Not specifically the Voting Rights Act, but for all Americans to be equal. And that especially includes the ability to vote and to have representation. And it's the representation part that they're going after. And yeah, I agree with you. It is so acidic and just sort of corrosive to the soul that it is. Yeah, it's mentally quite debilitating, and there's no excuse for it. We know the reason for it, but there's no excuse for it. And the reason is just blatant racism, just in-your-face racism.
I want to ask you about another piece that you wrote recently titled, "Do You Even Patriot, Bro?" Like I said, I feel like you speak for a lot of us, the way that you write and the way that you talk, people of our generation to a certain extent. And I feel like this little essay here does a great job of explaining why this idea is kind of silly. Talk to me a little bit about it. You write, a nation is a metaphor with bombs, sure, but a symbol nonetheless. Symbols are important. Without them, we'd forever be stepping on the rattlesnake tails. Symbolism is the language of abstraction. A nation is an abstraction of the tribe, which is itself an abstraction of the family unit. We create these metaphors as means of organizing ourselves to maximize organization and cooperation. All well and good, but the Dewey Decimal System is also a metaphor for organization and cooperation. Should I feel patriotic about the Dewey Decimal System? Great point.
At this point, I feel more patriotic towards the Dewey Decimal System than I do towards my own country. That's a great system they've got. Dewey?
Is it needed anymore?
I don't even know. I don't know if libraries still use the Dewey Decimal System. It seems like in the age of AI, it wouldn't be necessary, but I don't know what would replace it.
But you make a really great point here about the difference between a brand and a country and how we're supposed to identify, and that we just happen to be born here and these borders. But what is patriotism? What is it all for? Did you feel that way on Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We can, I think, acknowledge, remember, and honor people who fought for the country while still questioning what it is we're fighting for, where our patriotism is rooted, what it's rooted in, and whether the patriotism that we believe we are enacting in our daily lives, if that is being matched by the actions of the country we say we're patriotic towards. And right now, I have a real disconnect towards my idea for what this country is and what this country actually is. And to maintain patriotism in the face of that, to me, feels a little bit absurd. This idea of blind patriotism, this idea of my country, right or wrong, it has never made any sense to me. It makes even less sense to me now. The idea that a country, or that you owe a country something, also feels absurd to me, because a citizenship in a country is a contract. It is a contract that is created at birth in this country. But in my mind, that contract says you will do certain things for me and I will do certain things for you. And when one of us isn't holding up our end of the bargain, just as with any other transaction, I would be tempted to take my business elsewhere. The problem is it's hard to move across borders, but we can criticize, we can boycott, we can march, we can do what we want to do the same way we would with any other institution that we deal with.
Birthright citizenship, we might lose that too, by the way.
Right.
You have spent time in other countries. You like Italy a little bit. And my ex-wife and daughters are all EU citizens. They're all moving to Europe, at least temporarily. My daughter's going to university.
They're telling you temporarily.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hope they're
fleeing you, Pete.
That's true to a certain extent, but anybody who gets close to me generally does. It's actually never been true. My life is not a movie. My daughter's going to University of Amsterdam, and my other daughter's moving to Florence. And you know, they keep sending memes about how life is better in Europe for a lot of reasons. And I wonder if you've spent enough time there to have that opinion, because there is a trend of people trying to get out if they can of America. And, you know, if some forecasters are right, maybe our dollar's not going to be worth so much.
Yeah. So the dollar thing I'll leave alone because I don't really understand global finance, but it does seem like there might be a play at hand to weaken the dollar long term. That being said, yes, in some ways life is better, but in Europe. But although I have spent a fair amount of time there at this point, I don't know any country well enough or any culture well enough to say, like, definitively, this is a better place to live. When we go somewhere, we romanticize it, we exoticize it. I don't know what it's like to be an Italian day to day. I do know that, you know, unemployment in Italy, France, Spain, Greece, whatever, especially for young people, is even worse than it is here. I mean, it's just very, very difficult. On the other hand, pasta.
And it doesn't have that hustle culture, which you read about in a recent piece, which I really liked. Which one is it here? But just talking about having to constantly be productive. And if you're not productive, you're not good. You're not enough by any culture, organization, employers' standards. You better get going and get out there and produce. And we're told that story our whole lives. And I thought you really captured that. I'm trying to, which piece was that? Do you know which one that was titled? I just read it earlier. Is it I'm Too Tired to Deal with the Apocalypse? That was a very good one. No, that wasn't it. Anyway, talk. I feel you said something like your motivation is at an all-time low. And I feel like
zero motivation right now. And part of it is age, probably. Part of it is just a kind of ennui about what's going on in the world and feeling like doing one of those things that everybody does every now and again, just throw up your hands and say with a French accent, what is the point? What is the point of any of this? But also it is what you said, I think, a reaction against the hustle culture in this country. And I was just, as you said, in Italy for a month, and I wasn't, you know, I was there to vacation, but I can't help but notice every time I'm there, the amount of leisure people seem to indulge in. You know, at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, you show up at the bar and it's aperitivo hour and the community is there. It's not, even like if you go to London, the pub scene in London feels very work oriented and hustle oriented. But like in Italy, the pub culture or the equivalent of it feels very family oriented and very relationship oriented. And that's what I notice when I'm in some of these countries, and what I really pine for here, a sense of, I don't know what the word is. It's like a little bit of that sweet life, you know, that you find in Italy, a little bit of reorganizing our priorities around family and relationships instead of money and occupations. which, you know, there aren't going to be any occupations anyway. So we might as well get used to spending our Sundays as a family together, cooking a big gravy.
You can see the way people are acting and behaving and showing up at a pub or a cafe or with their family or at a library reading. You can see those things and you can talk to people, but the thing that you can't capture that we all know and that you did capture in this piece was how much pressure there is every day and every hour of every day to be doing something. And even more now than ever, because you can just post. You can just post something and that could be work. Any kind of post, an essay, a tweet, a video, whatever. And that's not just for social media influencers and famous people like yourself, but anybody could just send an email. You could always work more as opposed to taking a walk, being in the garden, hanging out with friends, staring at a fucking tree, doing nothing, meditating, napping, right. All those things. And I feel like there's so much pressure, downward pressure and sideways on our peers in America. And I feel like that's not there, but you can't see it.
Just that somehow we've equated the word consumer with citizen, or consumer with American, or citizen, or consumer with patriot in some capacity. Like, that tells you, I think, everything you need to know about the values of this country. I mean, I remember after 9/11, George Bush was basically, you remember, he said, what we can do is go shopping. You know, that's how we can fight back, is we can go shopping and preserve the economy. And, you know, it's exhausting. It's exhausting living in a consumerist economy where everything is about acquisition instead of enjoying what you have. And when I say, you know, what you have, that can include people and should include people.
Let me ask you a personal question for me. You are and your wife are empty nesters. I'm about to be. You've written about it and talked about it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. My older daughter has been out of the house for a couple of years. My younger daughter is just graduating high school. And granted, I mean, she's 18. It's not like we spent a ton of time together. If it were up to me, we would. But how did you deal with that with your kids left?
I thought it was going to be very difficult. And God, it's been great. Oh, it's the best. I love not having them in my life. Wait, hold on one second.
The thing that about Michael, though, is he does have his lovely bride. I'm single, so I'm going into it like single. And I feel like that's even a big...
Yeah, that would be harder, I think. Yeah, that would be harder. It's been nice. Well, you know, it got interrupted. You know, my kids left, and then there was COVID.
Oh,
and,
COVID,
you know,
right?
Back, and you know, they're local, so we see them all the time. We brought them to Italy, but just that daily thing of not having some moping teenager laying around your house, looking at you with just like daggers, like that's great, and not having to worry. You know what the big thing is? Not having to worry about fucking dinner every night. Just not having to worry.
Right.
Fucking dinner.
Not having to feed other people is a relief.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
All I want to eat is grocery store pie and rolled gold pretzel sticks.
I don't blame you. Those are
that is my empty nester diet.
Especially if both of them are
great.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a lot of protein. That's the thing now.
You know what? This actually is a conflict in my marriage because my wife thinks I need to eat more protein. And God, we're in therapy about it.
Big protein is they have protein now is injected into everything. They had it at Dunkin' Donuts. They have a protein now in their stuff.
Of course they do.
You could just put protein in anything. Why don't you just take a teaspoon of protein and then that issue will be solved.
Right.
Or you could bring they have a protein shakes pre-made. That's what I do. That's why I'm cut.
No, you're super cut.
My skull.
And I'd like to see super cut of this interview when it's over.
My skull is ripped.
What do you put? Do you have like a wax or something you put on there, some sort of matte finish? Because it does look quite good.
Christian Finnegan said that to me not too long ago. He popped up on the screen here and he sees me. He goes, "Man, your skull looks ripped." You were canceled recently for arguing with someone publicly about Harry Potter, and I think this is a really important point that you wrote about and made. We have to stop this. Someone said if you read or support anything Harry Potter, you're a bad person. And you wrote and then I guess you defended that publicly, and then you got canceled again. There he goes. There goes Michael off into the.
No, and it's very brave of you to have me on your podcast. Very.
How bad was it? Was it really? Was there? This is about.
It's annoying. It's just annoying more than anything else.
Okay.
And by the way, the people I was arguing with I'm on their side. You know what I mean? Like I'm
right.
on their side.
On the issue of trans people?
Yeah, mostly trans and, and other people supporting the community. Great. Allies. Great. And, they came down hard on me because the position I was taking was essentially Harry Potter specifically has become a global phenomena that is, I don't want to say it's divorced from J.K. Rowling. Of course it isn't. But it now exists in a world separate and apart from her. Yes, she gets paid for it. Yes, if you support the products, you are indirectly putting money in her pocket so that she can continue doing her terrible things that she's doing. But my point was, if you're going to cut people off and say you're a bad person because you watched the new Harry Potter series or you let your children watch the new Harry Potter series, you're not advancing your own cause, I don't think. What I think you're doing is alienating people who might be on your side about this and might be your allies and might be supporting what you're saying. But when we sort of make these blanket condemnations about people for doing what, from their perspective, is an utterly harmless activity, then you just end up alienating too many people. And this argument went on for days.
Oh, really? Where?
Oh, days. And included, and included every possible charge you could have against me. I'm transphobic. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other thing. And again, when you do that, like, I don't care. I don't care what you think. But it's just it's the same problem, I guess, that Republicans have when you call them fascists. The problem is when you behave like a fascist, you're going to get that label. I don't think I was behaving like a transphobe or a J.K. Rowling apologist in any way, shape, or form. But that's how they took it, and that's fine.
Anybody of prominence argue with you? Because sometimes when you're hearing from people, you're not sure, A, if they're real people, or B, if they have those opinions, or if they're just trolling. But sometimes there's people of consequence that that you're familiar with that make good points, and like, okay, but yeah, there was?
Yeah, there were tons of people making good points, Is that what you're asking? Are there people making good points that I agree with?
No, in terms of, I don't know what the good points necessarily could have been. It seems like there is a lack of nuance and detail, and that there's a litmus test that you have to, and it's so stupid, I think, because if you follow that, you could never go out to your house and you could never spend any money on anything at all. I guess you could get books free at the library, but you're still paying your tax for the library. You could support Michael or Pete on Patreon or Substack, but then you're still supporting platforms that sometimes platform Nazis. Like, everything is bad that you do if you want to position it that way. But that's not the way that we can live our lives, or we won't make any progress and we'll lose to bad people.
Exactly. Which you just very succinctly said everything that it took me 4 days to say. That's my position on it. And more than that, it's sort of those conversations sort of made me feel like maybe it's worth engaging more with people with whom I know I'm going to have a problem. Like, for example, before those conversations, if, say, somebody like Ben Shapiro invited me on his podcast, I'd be like, no. But after those conversations, it sort of made me feel like maybe there is more value in engaging than.
Well, there's a difference between engaging and somebody. My argument is this a good faith argument, or is this for the show? Are you just doing this for the clicks? And I feel like you're talking more about people that are in our world that are more on the left or on Earth One that are demanding purity from Michael Ian Black. That's how I feel like but I don't know. I didn't see that dispute. Also, on the trans issue, I've always felt like you specifically you could be both a handsome man and a pretty girl.
Thank you.
So I felt like you could kind of relate. You're very fluid just in your appearance and your behavior. Sometimes people think, wow, he's very masculine. And other times people think you're anti-masculine.
Mm-hmm.
People have said that.
People have said anti-masculine?
I've heard it a lot about you.
Really?
Yes.
That's That's a tough pill to swallow, Pete.
Yeah. Well, someone saw you using a tool.
Okay. Right. If they had seen me using any kind of tool, the only conclusion you would come to is that guy is anti-masculine.
There's a video of you slamming down a socket wrench and picking up a Tom Clancy book and sitting down in a chair and crying a little bit. Not like a little whimper, like not a full, but like a.
Yeah, I've seen that video. It's very distressing. Yeah, I have dressed in drag many times in my life, and I never cared for it. It never felt right. It was an interesting thing for me. It actually taught me something about transgenderism, which is because my background is in sketch comedy, and because my sketch comedy troupe was almost all men, we frequently did drag. And I had such a profound discomfort with wearing women's clothes and putting on the makeup and acting feminine that it made me realize, oh, this is gender dysmorphia. This is how it works. If I had to do this every day and everybody treated me like a girl, and I had to, I had a female name and I had to change in the girls' locker room, but I was me, it would be impossible to live.
Right.
And it's so obvious to me, having had that experience, that it's crazy to me that anybody would feel differently about this. It's so obvious. Walk around. I mean, if you're a dude who opposes trans rights, put on a dress, walk around in it for a week, and see how you feel. And not that they're going to do that.
How many genders are there? That's that litmus test for people on the right to see where you're at in terms of your views on things, I think. Mine is like about climate science or who won the election. And theirs is like how many genders are there? And my answer to how many genders there are is I don't care. I don't care that much about that. I mean, it matters. We can talk about it, but it doesn't seem like top of mind for me, given everything else that's happening on a daily basis.
Right.
Well, I'll let you go, but what are you doing? What are you doing to hold on to whatever piece of sanity and reality there is left and not let the onslaught of the world take over? Because I saw you said, well, the one thing one reprieve I still have is sports. And then I became the pessimist. I was like, yes, sports, college sports is all now paid for. Pro sports is all now gambling. And so I got all negative about that. And it made me think that we should just go watch the most amateur of sports and watch parents fight each other.
Lately, I've been listening to a lot of music.
All right.
Music. Okay. That's been a good balm for me.
How do you do that? And then I'll let you go.
With my ears.
Will you put up? I feel like you might have like a record player or even a stereo. You press play. Does it come out of speakers? Do you wear headphones? When you listen to music, Michael, like generally speaking, how do you?
I'm going to show you.
Okay. Oh wow, this is very cool. We're getting an exclusive.
When I moved to this home, I purchased there it is, hi-fi system.
Okay.
So there's one of my speakers. There's the other speaker. Here is the turntable. There's a system under here and under there, and that's how I listen.
Oh, that's great. So do you always use the turntable?
No.
Okay, but
I often just stream. But I bought the turntable for my wife for Christmas because she had some records. But it turns out I use it way, way, way more than she does. And now I feel like I owe her a present.
Well, that's what you just gave me a piece of advice for when I move back into my house. When everybody's gone, I'm going to get a whole speaker system similar to that, but not as good as that because I'm not you.
Well, you don't know how good that is.
Yeah, somebody in the chat said it was very high end.
It is.
Michael, as always, I really appreciate it. And I got to say, I love reading your Substack. People should go subscribe to Michael Ian Black on Substack and then send him money. Pay. I'm a paid subscriber. You should pay for it. I think you should pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to continue to get high-end stereo equipment, somebody's got to pay for that.
You can also hire Michael to do a cameo, and he's one of the most requested because I bet you really commit to those. I bet you really care about who you're doing those for.
I do. I started doing Cameo during COVID because I was bored and I felt like I could use maybe some money.
Yeah.
And I kept doing it because it seems to make people really happy.
Yeah.
It's 2 minutes of my life, and I make jokes, and I make them very specific for whoever it is, and it just seems to make people happy. So why wouldn't I do that?
Go get happy, be happy. Hire Michael on Cameo. Have I Got News for You comes back in September? Is that right? Is that when it comes back? All right. Well, I hope you enjoy your summer. I hope I talked to you. Maybe I'll even see you at some point, but I really appreciate you doing this.
You sounded so bilious when you said that.
I know. I don't know what that
your summer.
I don't know what that energy was right there at the end. I was just getting ready to.
Ugly. I don't know where that came from.
Let me take two. I hope you have a great rest of spring.
Sounds very sarcastic this time. This time it just sounded sarcastic.
Michael, thank you so much for joining me. I am so grateful for your time. Sincerely, I really appreciate you.
Have you ever done any acting, any real acting?
Michael, I know you're out of time, but if we could do another 2 hours.
Wait, listen, here's my line reading on it. Hey, Pete, I hope you have a great summer. And it was great reconnecting. Great news about your kids in Amsterdam and about to graduate high school. It's fantastic news. I hope we see each other again over the summer. Now, all of that, I didn't mean any of that,
right?
But you could sense the sincerity, right?
Yeah, I felt like you were listening when I was talking.
I'm classically trained.
I hope you have the day you deserve.
Much better.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Bye, Pete.
All right, there he goes, Michael Ian Black, everybody. Go follow him on the Substack and on all the social medias. Let him know that you heard him here as you do all of my guests. Read the show notes every day. Read the Patreon email where I am documenting my anticipation of moving back into my house with Val and the girls moving to Europe. It's all a lot of a thing, and I'm sharing it a bit. Piece by piece, maybe day by day in that Patreon email. So maybe open it. Most of you don't. That's okay. I don't open most of mine. But if you're a paid subscriber and you get it, check it out. There's a photo of nature in there every day. Vitamin N, hashtag Vitamin N. Send me yours, and I will talk to you live later on with David Rothkopf today. And that is all I've got. That is all I have for you. So have a good one. Thank you very much for being here. I'm going to go hike with Zats in the woods now. Love you. Take care of yourself. Be compassionate to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't chitter chatter to yourself. Or if you do, you got to catch it. Be mindful. Meditate. Journal. Start journaling. Why aren't you journaling? Okay. John Carroll, stop me.
When the tyrants taunt you and the sirens teach you, better stand up, stand up. Let the brave meet the challenge, let the weak flee. Oh, you better stand up, stand up. When you're tired of begging, saying pretty please, that's the time you gotta finally get up off of your knees. When you can't see the forest for the burning trees, you got to stand up. Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you got to stand up, stand up. I think you're driving wheels with leaking grease. Boy, you better stand up, stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know what's right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up, that's right. You got to rise up, you got to stand up, you got to stare the devil straight in the eye. You got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear and all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, get down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Oh, you better stand up, stand up. They knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand